everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today, where your boys, we always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Blaylock. And today, everybody, we're going to be talking about former Toronto Blue Jay, Yusei Kikuchi. He's had 2 starts right now in Houston, both of them very quality. He is doing a good job, and he's changed a bunch of stuff. Massive shout out to Jays Journal because they released an article just going through all of the adjustments that he's made in only 2 starts in Houston and then relating it to the Toronto Blue Jays pitching coaches, the whole developmental staff, everyone, and just talking about how we might be failing our pitchers, we might be failing our players right now with the guys who are currently in charge of creating the strategies, making these decisions, and helping get the best out of their guys. So we're going to talk about that related to the current Toronto Blue Jays, like Kevin Gausman and Chris Bassett and XYZ. But first things first, let's break into this article, everybody. Yusei Kikuchi, 2 starts in, 11 innings pitched. He is doing great and changing a bunch of stuff. And the first thing that we want to talk about here is changing up the changeup.
Yeah, like Yusei Kikuchi, when he was with Toronto, he didn't throw the changeup too much. He threw it about 10 to 11% of the time. However, when you look at the first few starts with Yusei Kikuchi, you can see here that in his first start, it was up to 12, so maybe a little bit higher. But then his second start against the Rays, it really started to come into play 16% of the time. A little bit more than you're used to, right? Not a whole commanding, like, powerful thing, but enough to make hitters think about it.
Yeah.
And now going over to the Jays article, they mentioned this, and we're bringing it up right now. You know, Houston looked at they looked at Yusei Kikuchi. They went, okay, how do we fix you? Because when we traded him over there, he wasn't doing so well. So how can we bring your best stuff to the table? Well, it feels like they just went to Baseball Savant, guys, because they looked and they saw Yusei Kikuchi's Savant page, and they saw that the changeup, guys, it had a batting average against of 188. And they said, hey, why aren't we throwing this a lot more? It's your lowest pitch out of all of them that you threw in Toronto. Let's throw it more. And apparently it's been very successful.
Yeah, it's been paying off, right? And Kikuchi, after that first start, just came out and told people, he was like, yeah, they just encouraged me to use the changeup a lot more in that start. So it was clear, like, you know, when we were looking at that trade, we thought, oh my God, like, what is Houston doing, right? Like, they are absolutely throwing right now in terms of just a trade proposal and everything like that. But they had a strategy. They saw the numbers and they were going, okay, you know what? We think that we can fix you. We think that we know how to make you better. And the first thing was dealing with that changeup. The second thing that they did immediately. So this is all stuff that, like, he wasn't even in the building. They already had the strategy planned out. They knew what was going to happen. The second thing that they did was they upped the hell out of the slider, everybody. In Toronto, he wasn't throwing the slider that all too much. In both starts right now in Houston, it is well over 30%. And again, going over to Baseball Savant right now, when you look at the pitches that are Yusei Kikuchi's best pitches, what are they? It's the slider and it's the changeup. They went over here and they said, okay, you know what? He's got a 228 batting average against with the slider and a 188 batting average against with the changeup. Well, gee, maybe we ought to get him to throw that a lot more. And so far, it is paying off.
And you look at the pitches that were not successful with him, like the four-seamer. Granted, you have to throw a four-seam fastball. It will be your most beat-up pitch, but they reduced it by about 10% of the time. And then the curveball is virtually gone. Remember how last year we were thinking the curveball, you know, it was amazing. And for a lot of the time, it was for a lot of different situations, different starts. However, people started catching on. Oh, he's got a looping curveball, sit on it and hit it. Because this year he had a 288 batting average against, and he threw it 21% of the time. In his first 2 starts, 6% of the time. And then 8% of the time. It's virtually gone, everybody. So that has led for Yusei Kikuchi to have some pretty good starts where he's only given up 2 earned runs into the 6th inning. So just looking at that, it seems so simple that, you know, a team like the Houston Astros could just change him a little bit like that and have success for Yusei Kikuchi.
Exactly, right? And I think that we need to clarify all this by saying this is a very small sample size. You know, so it's like you could argue, well, Yusei Kikuchi is, he's just getting lucky, or, you know, numbers are coming around or whatever. But I would also argue that the fact that it's such a small sample size actually, like, leads into this point that much more. he hasn't had time to go and adjust his pitches,
No.
get so many more RPMs on his slider.
Yeah.
It is legitimately just as simple as a throw this one more, throw this one less. When you're up against a lefty, do this, because we didn't even bring that up. Against lefty hitters, now instead of going up and in with the fastball, he's going down and away with the fastball. That is working out very well.
Which makes more sense, because if you start the fastball down and away, that will work off the slider a lot more when you're starting it at the edge down and away and breaking away and missing the barrel.
Exactly, right? So all of these things are those mid-season adjustments that the Houston Astros have been so good at for so long. It's why they consistently are always competing for a World Series. And other organizations like the Dodgers and the Yankees, these guys can make these mid-season adjustments. And it just kind of begs the question again, why are we not doing that as the Toronto Blue Jays organization? Who is in charge of this, and why are we not doing that with our current players?
Yeah, because, looking again, I want to make one more point about Yusei Kikuchi's whole thing where, yes, you make an adjustment. As the other team, you have a scouting report coming into it, and you're thinking, oh, wow, okay, I'm not being attacked up and in with a fastball instead of being tacked away if I'm a lefty, right? Oh, he's throwing the no more curveballs. Okay, I'm sitting on the fastball, but all of a sudden I'm getting a bunch of off-speed pitches.
Right.
So there is going to be a sample size of, teams need to readjust to his adjustment. But again, to that point, that's the entire game of baseball.
Yeah.
When you simplify the game of baseball, it's I make an adjustment, then you make an adjustment. Then I make an adjustment, then you make an adjustment. The Toronto Blue Jays, coaching staff, pitchers, whatever, it feels like we get stuck in this rhythm of we are comfortable, we made one change, and we sit with that until dire needs, until we're absolutely struggling, until we are below the Mendoza line as a batter, or we have a 4+ ERA or 5+ ERA, and we're almost out of the league. It feels like we have the incapability of adjusting before things get dire.
That's the thing. Like, we're clearly not strategizing or adjusting well enough, and we're not doing it quickly enough at all. I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about Kevin Gausman and just relate this to him, right? Because, well, if this is going on with Yusei Kikuchi, it's obviously going on with Kevin Gausman, and that is 100% the case. Again, this is statistics that is, readily available to you and the public, right? We can just look this shit up, and we can tell you right now the four-seam fastball is not doing very good. And alternatively, you were saying the splitter is, in fact, got a very low batting average against, and yet he's throwing the four-seam fastball a lot more now than it ever has been.
Right. I will say a little nugget of information on this is the fact is the splitter isn't as splitty, right? But the point is, okay, who cares if it's splitty? If it's not as splitty as before, meaning it doesn't have a lot of vertical break to it, it's still got an opponent batting average of 185.
Yes.
So why is it that from 2023 to 2024, are we throwing it a lot less? Probably because he can't command it. But point being is, well, you better learn to command it more. The more you throw it, the better you should be able to commanding it. And we're now instead upping the four-seam fastball, which, of course, is getting destroyed at a 286. So same thing. Why aren't we making that midseason adjustment?
Yeah, exactly, right. And, of course, there are other underlying variables here that we are not privy to, but the pitching coaches and the strategists and everything like that, they should be. And clearly with some of these players like a Kevin Gausman and a Chris Bassett, the list goes on and on and on and on, right? There are certain things that they've been doing time and time and time again that are not working, and we need to make those adjustments. Houston did, and it automatically, again, we don't know if he's going to be Cy Young Kikuchi or anything like that, but it is looking very good. I wanted to pull up the coaching staff for the Toronto Blue Jays right here and just call out a couple names. Obviously, we all know Pete Walker, right? Pete Walker, pitching coach, kind of the lead guy right there. And, we kind of slam him quite a bit whenever anyone's not doing very well. But David Howell, if I asked any one of you who David Howell is and what he does here, you'd probably have no idea. You have to check the website just like we did. He is the assistant pitching coach with his main thing being strategy. Like, that to me is everything that we just talked about right there, right? It's like strategizing with Yusei Kikuchi about how you're going to attack this hitter and what you're going to throw more and what's working for you. Clearly, the one over in Houston knows what the fuck he's doing. I don't know if David Howell does.
It's funny. I think there's a whole conversation about, play to your strengths. And for whatever reason, it feels like we're not playing to our strengths, and instead we're playing to the batter's weaknesses, which could be a strategy. But at the end of the day, again, if I'm looking at someone like Kevin Gausman, clearly this pitch works, this pitch doesn't. Let's switch up how much we're throwing it and showing these other batters. So I agree. whose fault is it? We don't know. We're not in that insider information. We don't really know what the conversations are around the Blue Jays. But everything, it's consistent with the pitchers. It's consistent with the batters, how no one is able to make that change.
Well, and it's kind of embarrassing, actually, right? When you trade away a guy like a Yusei Kikuchi, and, you know, we're thinking, oh, we
got him.
We fleeced the hell out of him.
Still, jury's out on that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
We're still happy with the return that we got, but still, right? You know, oh, we fleeced him, and then immediately it's like, boom! Now we fixed him. We know exactly what the problem is. We know how to address him moving forward. And you kind of you're sitting here as a Toronto Blue Jays fan and going, are you serious? Like, we had that guy the whole time. We had that guy the whole time. And if we would have made that adjustment, you know, 3 months ago, or realized, you know, or done something with him, maybe he would have been pitching a lot better. Maybe we pick up a couple more wins. Maybe we're not in this spot. And I think that this is a big generalization, but we know that there is talent on this roster. There is talent on this team. There is talent throughout the lineup. There's talent in the pitching rotation. And you're sitting here as a Blue Jays fan going, well, what the fuck? How did we get to this point of being so bad when we have all of these talented players? I think that part of it comes down to how we're addressing them, how we're developing them, how we are coaching them, and how we're strategizing with them, and the lack of adjustments that we're making mid-season with these guys.
So it's pretty clear to me. I feel like I don't even need to ask you this question. We got to be making some changes in this offseason.
Whoa! Time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
If we're looking to compete in 2025, you've been running out mostly the same staff. I think Matt Haig's the one guy that's different on this staff.
Yes.
You're running out the same guys out here on the coaching staff. Things got to change, especially on the pitching side of things, which last year wasn't a problem. This year is the big problem.
It is a big problem this year, right? And you can bring in all of these different players, right? You can sign another Yusei Kikuchi, but if you don't have the guys in your system, in your coaching staff, to get the best out of that player, then what the fuck is the point?
You're a coach. I mean, I think we sometimes, or maybe they sometimes forget, like, your job is to coach. I mean, I've heard word around the Blue Jays, you know, team and the coaching staff that, like, they're not really there telling them what to do. They're kind of letting the big league players be big league players. But at some point, you got to step in and be a effing coach. All other professions have coaches that step in and give them advice, give them a strategy, give them helpful tips to get better and continue to get better. Because guess what? The other teams are doing it. If the other teams are doing it, why aren't we doing it? We're falling behind, and that's how we become losers.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the whole, like, oh, we're just going to let these guys do what these guys
bullshit.
do and whatever. That's complete bullshit because you guys get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be MLB coaches. So, fuck, I'll take your job then.
I'll be a coach.
If that's all it requires.
And in fact, we might be... that might have been extra. I was going to say, we might be better because I have stats, but no.
I'll still give it to them, everybody, but clearly they're not doing enough right now. And if they are trying to be competitive in 2025 or literally any season past this, you are going to need to have a developmental system and just an overall organizational shift where we can make those midseason adjustments and we can address our players and get the best out of them. Because you can pay $100 million this offseason, but it's not going to matter if you're not getting the best out of those guys.
So, you guys, you let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about this? And what do you think about Yusei Kikuchi? And do we need to make some changes to this coaching staff, guys? $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out, thank you to all of our current Patreon members. You guys are absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you so much for watching. And as always,
go Jays, go!